What is consciousness? The Livestream of Consciousness is on a quest to unravel the mysteries of existence. Every episode, we ask the fundamental question that has captivated human minds for centuries. Is consciousness merely a product of our brains, or does it connect us to something greater? Explore the very fabric of our thoughts. Don't miss a moment. Expand your awareness and tap into the boundless potential that resides within you. Welcome to the live stream of consciousness.
Yes, hello and welcome to the live stream of consciousness. Once again, we are here at my favorite place to be. I don't know what happened. I just started this thing one Thursday, and now it just seems like I got to show up every Thursday. And you guys are here, so I got to keep coming back. No, but I'm just kidding. I love coming here. I love doing this. I love having these conversations. Whatever it was that started exists now in infinitum. And it's good to see everybody here. What's up, Tim? What is up, Ninja Kitty? I see Janice out there, the quiet healer. Hello, good evening, everybody. I'm in a good mood because tonight I have a very interesting guest on. And I know we asked the question over and over, and we still get to explore the same topic of what is consciousness. But I met my next guest in a intuitive development class. It was an Akashic Records reading class. It was an amazing experience. We're going to talk a little bit about it. But it's the first time I feel connected. I felt connected to everybody in the class, but I feel specifically connected to my next guest because I can't really put my finger on it, but let me just tell a quick story. Before the show, we were chatting about it, and she told me that she got a pedicure, and she was excited, and she sent me a picture of her feet. And I was like, that's awesome. I'm so happy you're excited. I said, but I don't think that we're going to, it is video, but I don't think we're going to see your feet. And she sent me this, which just really hit me down to the core. Like, okay, I guess it is possible that we're going to see your feet. I told her I would give her $1 if she sat like that through the interview, but I'm going to tell her, don't sit like that. I have no insurance. I don't want to be liable for that at all. But I just thought that was really funny, and it really connected to me on some sort of deep humor level. But anyway, so many interesting things. I'm excited for this conversation because tonight's guest is a biofeedback specialist, which means that her roots are in actual science. But I know also through knowing her that she has a lot of very spiritual, metaphysical beliefs. And I love that. And I love that the conversation is going to connect all of that. So without getting too wordy, because I know she's excited to be here, I am going to welcome to the show Ellen Stern Kutza. Welcome.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much, Michael, for having me. First, I got to give a little disclaimer.
Okay.
That is not me in that photo. And if I could do that pose, I would definitely do it.
I would imagine you would if you could. If I could, I would also. I think that would probably get me lots of viewers if I did my show in that pose all the time. That would be pretty cool.
I think the most important part about getting a pedicure and a manicure is self-care.
Yes,
you got to feel good about yourself.
How it makes you feel.
Time
to, 1,000,000%.
When you work on a lot of other people, you have to take time for self-care. So that's one of the ways that I do my self-care.
I love it. And it's true. I totally know what you mean. The word of the month has been energetic signature, right? Because everything's got an energetic signature to it. And I think even a pedicure has an energetic signature to it that kind of just makes you feel a certain way, just like you described. And Janice is out there saying absolutely. So yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah, that word just keeps coming up, and I think I have a feeling it's going to connect to tonight as well. But I've got a couple things. I have a feeling you haven't watched the show, which is kind of good because this will come as a surprise. I asked this to all my guests. It's like an initiation question, to the live stream of consciousness, and it gets us all on the same page and the same frequency. And that is a basic question that can, can take you the whole show to answer, but you can also, I think most guests really come up with the answer right off the bat, and I know you will do the same. And I'm interested in the answer because of the biofeedback background that you have and the scientific background. But the question is, what is consciousness? What are we talking about? What exactly is consciousness?
Well, for me, I've never experienced myself as pure consciousness until I had an out-of-body experience. So I was in a motorcycle accident, and I was in the ambulance, and apparently I must have went into something that they use the term code blue. And I was floating above my body, and I was the driver. I was the passenger driver, the other EMT who was in the passenger seat, and I could experience everything that they were. And then I was the guy who was saving my life, saying, give her oxygen at some point. And I was above the ambulance outside following the ambulance. So, and then I was just one with everything. And so that is, to me, was pure consciousness. Like there was no Ellen, I wasn't a person. I was just one with everything. So you can also sometimes reach those states. You don't need to, get in a motorcycle crash. And
Right.
You can do things like that through meditation.
Absolutely.
But I think near-death experiences, I also got hit in the head with a golf ball. And that's actually how I got into biofeedback, searching for other ways to heal. And I experienced myself as pure consciousness then, because I got hit right here in my frontal lobe. Everything turned pitch black and my ears were ringing super loud. And I was just one with everything. And it's so peaceful. It's just love. You don't feel anything else but love.
I love it. Amazing answer. And I want to ask you a little bit about that NDE and that particular way you described it. I don't think I've ever heard anyone describe it particularly that way. However, I have described a very similar experience on this show that I had recently. And that was the experience that you said that you were experiencing the moment as other consciousnesses that were there, right? You said you were the other EMT driver, the passenger at first.
I was like inside their heads.
Yeah.
The EMT passenger was thinking about his girlfriend and what he was doing later. The driver was focused on every light, every car, getting through all the intersections. And the guy
you were feeling their thoughts as well. Besides,
I was pretty much them.
That's amazing. I love that you're saying that.
Yeah, I was just floating around. It wasn't like, oh, I'm going to go in that person, or, and luckily the guy who was working on me was very loving and kind. And you had realized that I was in a code blue state and it's just like, give her oxygen. Then I think when I started breathing, he was very relieved.
That's such an amazing
following
story.
The ambulance, I'm going to say, was the trippiest thing. Because I was just above the ambulance.
So it was like you were a drone cam.
Yeah, before drones.
Wow.
Yeah.
Before drones. I just really love that. And the story that I experienced recently, it wasn't an NDE. It was just a weird moment. And it was just walking through a crowded ShopRite. I was in ShopRite, and there's, when you're in a place like that, there's this din of noise. You hear conversations all going all around you. And as I was passing by people, I felt like an instant moment of being those people. Like there was a conversation between an older woman who was working at the store and a younger employee, and she was like, when I was your age, and he was like, oh yeah, whatever. And I just was like, all of a sudden, like root in that conversation, in those experiences, and then back into myself. And yeah, it was just very similar to what you're describing, and but only for like a microsecond.
Some people might call that astral travel too. Yeah. And so I think when we just do it naturally without proper training, we're just doing what we innately know how to do. And then when we get some training from great teachers like Lynn from Someone Life, or any of other people who we've met along the way. We're all here to work with each other. So I think that whoever shows up for us is our teacher and our guide, as we are both roles. We are the teacher and guide. So every day is a blessing and has some kind of gem. And I think the days that appear to be the most crazy usually have your biggest growth.
Wow. What you're saying is so freaking beautiful because I feel like that's a mindset thing, right? Like that's really a mindset thing, how you can look at every day as beautiful and be like, I'm going to learn something from someone and I'm going to teach something to someone. And it's, I don't know what it is, but it's just going to happen. You know what I mean? And that's just such a amazing way to look at life and really kind of stay in the wonder, of like
Yeah.
a child almost,
I think it's about just being, just being in the moment and being present.
Yeah.
When you're present, then you're in pure creation. So you're not living in the imaginary future that hasn't happened yet, and you're not reliving the past. You're just in the moment like we are right now.
That's it. That's what the live stream of consciousness is all about. And what's cool about it is that it's like a conduit for people to connect to. So we're all in this moment together. Like everybody here in my chat room is intentionally here. You're intentionally here. I'm intentionally here. We're all here in this moment intentionally. And I just love the energy that creates.
And I would like to say one more thing, Michael.
Yeah.
I intentionally did not research you or watch your show or anything because we were teamed up as homework partners.
Yeah.
And we had to go into each other's records. And for me, I love not knowing the person or anything about them because then it's pure information from the divine. I know that my ego isn't there, my mind isn't there. So if I'm like, oh, Michael, he did this or that, or he's this, then I know that my mind can take over or think some other thoughts that I didn't want that to happen.
Right. That's awesome. I love it. Well, thank you for doing that. So Tim, one of my listeners, Tim, he's in Brazil. He creates my international atmosphere, which I love. But he said he had very similar experiences to what you're talking about. And he said for him, it was more like he was looking over their shoulders and seeing their point of views, which I'm imagining is kind of a very similar experience as what I felt and what you described as almost like you were that person. You know what I mean? It was just you were connected to that view a little bit more than, wait, that's not me. You were like, no, this is me. This is just another perspective in the big perspective, right?
Well, you don't really have a sense of me when you're in pure consciousness. You just are. So I didn't know that there was a Ellen person or I had a body.
Right. It was afterwards that you realized, oh, I was in that person and I was in that person, because you were now back in the human state. You were not in the source state.
Yeah.
Whatever you want to call that. Awesome. I love that. All right. I want to get into the class that we took together. I want to get into what you do, all of that stuff. But there's one more thing I got to ask you to relay to continue to get into the vibe and into the frequency. And that is to ask you for a story or a moment that you remember when you realized that, what you were being told was reality, was not the whole story. There was more to it.
That's an interesting question. I think, what do you realize when you're not, I think nothing against the Midwest or Missouri, but growing up in the Midwest has a lot of beautiful things about it, innocence and stuff, but there wasn't any teachers or guides. And so I was never tell people you hear voices or you see things, because they'll they'll try to give you some kind of pharmaceutical.
Especially in Missouri, right? Yeah.
I think like the moment, I think it's just all through my life, when you're in self-discovery, and I think we get influenced by our culture, our role models, our teachers, our parents, our lineage. So I think at some point, when I moved out on my own, right before I turned 20, I was like, there's a whole big world out there. and and I remember I came to California, where I love and I reside now with my beautiful husband and family. Was the weather. Like, I came to California in the wintertime and they're like, let's go to the beach. I'm like, the beach? It's December. Why would we ever be having a bathing suit on and go to the beach? And so I had no reality that it wasn't freezing cold
Mm.
everywhere. So I think that might have been my first moment. Like, there's more to this than Four Seasons.
Wow, you know what? That's kind of really, that's an interesting answer to the question, because that's like a real, like, basic, there's more to this, right?
Yeah.
Really, what I really, I guess what I always expect from that is, like, not everybody believes that you can communicate with somebody that's passed on. You know what I mean? Like, that they're around. Not everybody knows what the Akashic records are, even. You know what I mean? But
Or
I know.
them. I can answer that question. Also, my dad passed away when I was right before my 12th birthday,
Mhm.
and he died pretty tragically. He fell down an elevator shaft,
Oof.
and I was afraid to go to sleep. And I have, like, I think now they would diagnose me as PTSD.
Mhm.
Back in the 70s, we didn't really have those kind of diagnoses that we would give people.
Right.
But his spirit actually would come and sit on the end of my bed and visit me
Mhm.
and calm me. And the first time that it happened, naturally I went to try to hug him. I like, Dad. Like, I just
Mhm.
knew that it was his spirit.
Mhm.
And mind you, I'm only 11, so
Right.
and I'm in Missouri, so there's none of this California woo woo kind of
Right.
talk.
Right.
And his spirit, it went away. He went away because I tried to hug him, and I wanted him to come back. So I just sat there so still. I didn't move. I don't even think I was breathing. Like, I just stayed
Mhm.
still till he came back. And then he came back and stayed with me over and over and over until I didn't need him anymore,
Mhm.
to be there physically with me as a spirit. So that
Right.
was my first real experience at age 11, was seeing
Wow.
spirits. I never told anybody because I'm getting the chills right now telling the world. As
Awesome.
I thought if I told somebody or did anything, he wouldn't come back.
Right.
So it wasn't until I was, I think, 31, in my 30s, I was going through a divorce, and a friend bought me a healing session with this lady, and maybe she was some kind of a psychic. I had never been to anybody like that. And
Mhm.
she opened her line with, oh, by the way, all those times that your dad was, you weren't sure if he was on your bed with you sitting there, he was, and I just want you to know that was real. And I
Wow.
was like, I never told not one
Oh
person.
my God, that's amazing. So that's awesome, Ellen. This is amazing. I love these conversations. So your first experience was at that time when you were 11, you said, or?
Yeah, I think even before then, I mean,
Mhm.
that was like when I really saw, like, my dad's spirit. And I think because
Right.
I needed to. I was so traumatized and so sad, and I didn't talk to anybody. I stared at walls. I have memory loss. I just go by my family members telling me what happened in like 2 years time period.
Right.
But
Right.
I
Right.
before then, like, my brother and I were really psychic, and we would, play games. Like, he would be on the other side of the wall. What color am I holding up? And I'd be
Right.
like, blue.
Right.
I would do it to him. And we
Wow.
were, we were astral traveling and doing all kinds of stuff as kids. Without,
Wow. That's amazing.
we were just little, we watched Bewitched a lot. I don't know. We,
No,
without,
that's exactly, that's what I'm so curious about, because I feel like I personally hang out with people who have these kind of open beliefs, right? But I feel like there's a lot of people who really, you start to talk about this stuff and they're just like, that's a little weird, or whatever. I love, I love the story about how I just got a little chills, and I don't want to get too emotional, but how your dad was the one who helped you through the grief of of his death. Like, that's
yeah.
amazing. That's just so,
Well,
I
he
don't
showed
know.
me, like, he's still here, you
Mhm.
know and that he comforted me.
Right,
And
right. You were still connected. He made you. He let you know that you were still connected, because even if you didn't understand it at 11 years old, you understood because he was there. Right. I mean, that was just
yeah,
amazing. Wow.
I think also by getting the chills or the goosebumps or anything like that, those are our validation signs, our
A
verification.
million percent.
For
Yeah,
me,
yeah.
it's like ding, ding, ding. Yep, that's right. Like when your body, if you listen to your body and your body gives you the chills, you're like, oh, okay, uh, I'm getting guidance. The divine is just giving me like a little gold star or
A million
something.
percent.
You know,
A million
there's never
percent.
either. It's like we've all chosen to have all these experiences, and
Right.
that's like going into my own records and doing the training. I've been doing this for 2 years now, and you go into your records and you see like no one's a victim, like that death and that way of dying and all that was all for my growth and his soul growth.
Mhm.
This was all determined things. He's like, okay, this life I'm going to come back as the dad, you're going to be the daughter. By the way, I'm going to leave when you're 11 and you're going to get all this gifts and
Right.
whatever.
It's so beautiful, isn't it amazing? It's so cool to just even view it that way. You know what I mean? Like, even if it isn't that way, just to be able to say this is the way it is and view it that way. And I think for me, it's like, again, mindset. It's like, because that's the way I want to view it, that's the way it is.
Well, you
Right?
know what? It takes you out of victim consciousness.
Right.
And victim consciousness is an illusion and it's a low vibration.
Mhm.
And so what happens when you're in victim consciousness,
Mhm.
you're going to get more things to be a victim of.
Yeah.
And if that's what you want to experience in this life, then that's
Mhm.
maybe what you need to experience. But
Right.
for me, I don't want to experience that. It's not fun. So it's
Right.
like being authentic, being in your power, raising your vibration, and then raising the other people's vibration if they choose to. We're all on our own. We don't know what you came into experience or what I
Right.
came to experience. So we do have free will also, but
Mhm.
it's all perfect. Everything is always happening exactly how it should be.
Yes. I love that. I love that point of view. That's why we're together right now, because this is how it should be.
Exactly.
That's awesome. So let's just talk a little bit before we get into the biofeedback, because I want you to kind of take us through that from what it even is to what you do with it. But let's just talk about the Akashic Records thing, because that's how we met. We took a class together, about just developing our abilities to go into the records and read the records for ourselves and for other people. I probably have talked about it a little bit here on my show, but let's just imagine nobody knows what it is. What are we talking about? What are the Akashic Records?
Um, Imagine that you go into a library and there's all these books on the library shelf, and this is a sanctuary, it's a temple, a library, and one book on that shelf is your soul's history, your soul's journey, your soul's encodement. And so when we go in there and we open up that book and we go in with a prayer and with intention and we go in sober, so you don't want to, be under the influence at least 24 hours before you go into the records. So there's some rules and guidelines, and then you're with the lords and the masters of the records, and you can ask self-interest questions, and it's really your soul's blueprint. So it's like the light of the records. So everything, you know, um, about this life, and for those who believe in other lives, those all that is in your records. So we've all been everything. We've been good, bad. We've been rapists. We've gotten raped. We've been
Mhm,
murderers. We've
mhm,
gotten murdered. We've been witches.
mhm.
We've just been pretty much about everything. And so um, that's your
Yeah,
records.
that's great. And I think I mean, again, I knew that, and I wanted to explain it to anybody who's watching who might not know what it is. And I think it's also important. It was interesting actually how you said it. Like, if you believe in past lives, then it's also the records of your past lives. And I'm imagining, like, well, if you even are at that point at that library, you're already like you're gonna believe in past lives, right? But that is important because I think people often think about like the record of your life being this life, right? This being, not who this being was in a previous timeline. And I think for me, I even subscribe to, and again, I subscribe to lots of different things, and I don't think that anything is written in stone. But I believe that we were all everybody. Everybody was every incarnation possible at, we because we all are still, right? That one. I mean, again, you can't kind of talk about this out in public. You can only talk about this here on our show.
Yeah, and some people, I mean, I've heard, like, I like that channel Bashar, that Daryl Anka. Um, he explained it so beautifully one time. He said it's all happening simultaneous.
Right.
And think of it like a TV, and our old TVs that had the knobs, like which channel is on your screen.
Such a
That's
great metaphor. Yeah.
focusing on.
Right. It's all out there in the airwaves happening right now. It's just you're just tuning into that one particular moment and program that that now you can focus instead of just seeing this big white noise of everything. You're seeing just the pixel.
Yeah.
Right. I guess I love that metaphor. No, that's awesome. Really, really, really great. So we were learning how to do it, and as you said, we were paired up in the class every week. We would learn a technique, and then during the week we were to practice it with somebody. And I was teamed up with you to actually go into the records. I think we had gone into the records as a class the week before, and I was having trouble recognizing that I was even in the records. I mean, I guess it turns out that I was, but I guess I had expected it to appear a certain way, and that wasn't what I experienced. But your sister happened to be my first homework partner who I worked with, who told me she got exactly the messages that she needed. And then the next week I was partnered up with you, and again, very nervous about it. But the experience I had with you, I feel like, even though I didn't feel like I had thought it was going to be, like I said, like the library and all of those things visually, it was a much clearer experience to me. And I was able to really recognize it as such. And I remember even kind of like, being in a semi trance state, I want to say. And then even, as we were talking, just kind of laughing out loud and about the things we were talking about, because I was seeing these funny kind of visuals. And I guess, like you said, it was just a feeling. It wasn't really seeing or experiencing. It was just kind of this knowing, and of what to say. And it was such a blessing to hear you say that makes so much sense what you said. And it was validation for you. I think you had said that you were kind of wondering about certain things, and you got the validation that you needed about it, which was amazing.
Michael,
So
all about well, this is why before we go into the records, we work on our psychic skill sets. So there's some exercises that we do leading up to that. So sometimes you can go on the records and you might see things, you might hear things, and you might know things. So clairsentience, claircognizance, or clairaudience. And there's more than that, but those are the main ones. Like, what do you feel in there? For me, I'm an artist, so I'm super visual. So a lot of times I'll just get a picture or a flash, and sometimes it's symbolic, and it's also, the more you go in, even go into your own records every day, then you're going to get better and better at it. And you can go into the records. Why am I fearful? What do I need to know? You can just sit in there and bathe in your own records and say, what messages do you have for me? And then also something will come through. And if something's not coming through, that's because you have to work on your own different areas of your psychic skill set. And it's also being in the heart space. I think that is the number one key.
Mhm.
Is that's why I like reading for strangers much better,
Mhm.
because if I'm doing someone I know, I already know about them. So I don't know, is it me just giving
Right.
advice or guidance?
There's emotions involved, right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it. You know what you said, just you just really made a lot of sense to me about the class. And and I, again, I experienced amazing things in the class. I thought it was great. It was the first time I took an intuitive development class because I resonate so strongly with so many modalities, right? I mean, I know psychic mediums, I know Akashic record readers, channelers, of all sorts. Channeling is like its own spectrum, right? Of different channelers who do different things. And I resonate so strongly with all of it, but I don't really do any of that per se myself. I mean, I do it in my own way. I think, like you said, we all do. I know I can't even say that around people like you anymore because they're like, oh no, that's not true. We all do it. I know I do it. I'm doing it right now. You
And
know
you're
what I
doing
mean?
live, uh you're doing it live on your show, out of all places to do it to the world. You know what, Michael, when Lynn invited me into the class, I was kind of like the same thing. I thought, I can't read the records, like
Mhm,
only shamans can do that, or special people, or this. But we can all do it if
mhm,
we want to,
mhm,
and our heart is open, and then we get the knowledge and the training, and we're doing it even without realizing it.
right.
It's called our intuition, our
Exactly.
guidance. Or
Exactly.
like you're thinking about somebody, and all of a sudden they call you on the phone. Or how many times have you called somebody and they're like, oh my God, I was just thinking about you?
Right. Right.
That's
Mhm.
called intuition. And
I
we,
love it.
Texas, we call it women's intuition, you know.
Yeah.
But you have one, obviously, we wouldn't be having this conversation.
Right.
Everyone, you wouldn't have been in the class, even if you didn't know or you were just more curious. And then you get your own validation, and the more that you go into the records, the better you're gonna get at it, and you're gonna be trusting,
Right.
the answer.
Right. But I think, okay, so what you said that actually kind of clarified some of the class to me, and why I was like, okay, I was able to go into the records, but only this much or whatever. And yes, partially it was my expectations, and that. But I think also what you said about a lot of the class, the beginning of the class, were these exercises to kind of hone some of those abilities, the clean slate exercises, and
The
the
clairs.
clairs. What's the clairs exercise with cleaning your clairs, and I think that's why I only got so far into the records, and I need to kind of go back and do more of that clean slate stuff to be more pure when I go into the records
Well,
and be able to get more out.
yeah, Michael, what would be really beneficial is the part where we do what color, what size, what shape,
Mhm,
and
mhm,
then all the emotions that are trapped, because it's just stuck, trapped energy.
mhm,
And
mhm,
usually fear or self-doubt, unworthiness, those
mhm,
are all things that block us.
mhm,
So if you see, and then our homework was actually healing in the records. So it's not, we kind of go in the back door of the records where we're not saying the opening prayer. We go in through our place of peace, and
mhm,
then we go to our round table. These are
mhm.
words that we use, and then we call forth a guide, and we really see where the guide wants to take us, and that's usually to heal something maybe from our childhood, or it could be something that's carried over, like
Right,
where this would might be a past life kind
right.
of thing.
I think what's so cool, you just kind of reminded me about the records, is that there's so much in there that you never know when you go in what you're gonna get. You know what I mean? There's like you can get so much that, like, oh, I picked this and it's healed this, which I wasn't even thinking about, or it's related to this or whatever. So it's absolutely true. Pauser, what's happening? Good to see you there. How am I the first like when 6 other people are watching? You know what? I don't. I'm gonna take a little advice, not advice, but a little. What's the word I'm looking for? I can't think of my word. Um, if you're watching the show and you enjoy it, why don't you click that like button right now? It doesn't take much
Yeah, no,
effort, and it helps me grow the show and have these amazing conversations with people. because this is what I want to do. I feel like you're there because you want to hear the conversation. So just click that like button. I know you guys are already subscribing, and I know you guys are here all the time, and I appreciate it so much. I tell you all the time. But thank you, Hauser. I mean, Hat Powser. Hat Powser's pops in every once in a while and says hello. So I appreciate that. Again, I feel like we could just continue on this conversation, but there's so much I want to talk to you about. So I'm going to pull back a little bit from the Akashic records. I'm going to close the records.
The records are closed.
Records
Amen.
are now closed. Amen. And I'm going to talk about biofeedback. So you mentioned that you got hit in the head and sustained a critical injury. And that's what got you into biofeedback. Let's hear that story.
Okay, I'll tell the shorter version. I did get hit in the head with a golf ball, and I was okay after the accident. Basically, they stapled my head back together, and I healed pretty quickly. But what I didn't realize was that when you get hit, especially in your frontal lobe, most people it's car accident or something like that, you hit your head really hard, your parasympathetic nervous system, a switch is just kind of stuck on, which can cause a lot of brain fog and depression. So it wasn't until about 3 years after the accident, I was a graphic designer, and I was just in the biggest brain fog, crying at work for no reason. And I said, I think something's wrong with me. And so I sought out help, because help is always available. And so they just put me to the shrink and the talk therapy. And nothing wrong with talk therapy; it can be very helpful. But the talk therapist had decided that I was clinically depressed by things I was saying, and she put me to the psychiatrist, who just wanted to put me on pharmaceuticals. And nothing wrong with pharmaceuticals; they definitely have a place and a time. But I didn't really want it for my everyday healthcare unless I really needed it. And so the psychiatrist, I was asking her, like, I don't want to take a antidepressant, or what else could I do? And so she had mentioned biofeedback or neurofeedback, but she made that sound very scary. She said, you're going to be hooked up to all these wires. And when you already can't think straight and you're relying on the expert of the doctor, then she proceeded to tell me that this pharmaceutical, this one might make me depressed more. This one could make me suicidal. This one, if I had one sip of alcohol, I might have a seizure. This one, like they all had their own side effects, but she was the expert, and I did do the pharmaceuticals for 1 year, and it did help me. I was on the lowest dose of Wellbutrin. I stopped crying, but I didn't feel anything. I just had no feeling, and then I could feel like I was really into drinking wheatgrass and eating clean diet, and, really live foods and stuff, and being as natural as possible. And so someone's watching, they're writing me notes. Cute. She said, I'm a natural. Thanks, Penny.
Oh, I didn't see. She didn't make it. Guys, you could comment in the comments here. Say hello if you're out there.
Hey,
but thank you, Penny.
Yeah, real quick. So I was done with the pharmaceuticals. It was a year. My liver felt like it wasn't up to par. My kidneys, my back was hurting, and I just didn't want to take them anymore. And how the universe works, I had put an ad on Craigslist. I was looking for a roommate, and this girl answered my ad, and she was coming to my hometown of Pasadena, California, to study biofeedback and neurofeedback. And I'm like, wait, that's what the doctor said I could do. And so I met with her. I weaned off the drugs professionally. Always never just stop on your own. I did a step down method. I worked with a chiropractor. I took other things for my brain, like 5-HTP, alpha-phenylalanine, just things to keep my brain healthy. Because I didn't want to go back to crying every day, because I thought, wait, if I stop taking this medicine, am I going to cry every day? And so I didn't, and I met the girl, and she put me on the neurofeedback first, which just works on your brain. And then she's like, hey, have you ever had a head trauma? And I'm like, yeah, I've had like 3 concussions in my life. And, I had the too much alpha in the wrong part of my brain. And she just rewired my brain. And after like 3-4 sessions, by session 8, I was like, everything was just firing on all cylinders. And
So
I
how does that work? You said she rewired your brain. Is there actually, so it's not just reading impulses, it's actually sending impulses back as well?
yeah,
Or
neurofeedback and biofeedback are loops. So I started with neurofeedback that works with the brain only. So you have 2 electrodes wherever they are on your head, where the parts of your body you need to work on, and 1 electrode in your ear, which is a grounding. And so it is working with your brain waves. And so
okay.
she did brainwave retraining and
Wow.
worked with alpha waves, theta, delta, beta, and like everything just started connecting again, And then I was like, wait, why don't more people know about this? I was so much better, and I didn't have to take a pharmaceutical, and
Wow.
I was better than before the accident. I mean, I was just like, everything was coming together. And then I said, can I learn how to do this? I said, I don't want to be a graphic designer anymore. I just want to be a painter. I just want to be a regular artist.
Right,
Nothing
right.
against designers. I love you guys all. I love every kind of art, everything. But it stopped me from painting, but it wasn't in alignment with my purpose. And I
Sure,
didn't
sure,
even,
sure.
I was, and so then I discovered the biofeedback equipment, and that was the whole kit and caboodle, because it's like it works on the whole entire body, and it works with consciousness, and it works with quantum physics, and you can work with spirituality. You don't have to have anything wrong with you. You can use peak performance, and it had all the proper training and education, and I just loved it. I just said yes. And then I've worked
Wow.
on thousands of people. So the biofeedback, you have a head strap on, wrist and ankles, and it reads the body electric. So it's a voltmetric signature.
Mhm.
It scans your body, and it sees where you have stressors, or a strong reaction, a normal reaction, or a weak reaction. And from there, it categorizes everything, and then you get frequencies back. So think of me as the pilot of the supersonic biofeedback spaceship. So I'm working, it's all about the software. So I'm reading the software,
Mhm.
and after it tests you, and then I'm seeing which frequencies your body needs. So it really opens up your energy channels. And so instead of taking serotonin, I can get the frequency of where serotonin vibrates at, or I can just retrain my brain so it's firing right. And so it's like but it's all, on so many people, it's really, you think it's one thing, and it's all these emotions, things from your childhood, anything
Mhm.
that left an energetic footprint in your field, that's stuck energy. And so this is just working with state of the art technology that to remove and unblock stuck energy. And it's like the same thing, it's kind of where human consciousness is at too. It's like we can
I'm blown away, right? You don't understand. I'm so blown away. I can't wait to talk to you after the show because I think I might quit my graphic design career as well. Because literally I'm fascinated. I talk about it all the time here on the live stream of consciousness about how everything is energy. It's certainly rooted in my brain as like you don't understand exactly what it means, but you know it for a fact that everything is energy. You know what I mean? And what you do is actually kind of, it's almost like the study of that on a very, very specific level, right, of frequency and vibration, because that's what energy is, and how that works with the human brain. So like you're way, way beyond just having a conversation and what is consciousness. Here I am thinking I'm so cool, asking this question, but meanwhile you can actually graph it out on a piece of paper and
can
know.
Yes, everything in life has a frequency and can be
Mhm.
measured. And then we just get validation and verification over and over and over. Like, I remember one time I was a newer practitioner, and I was working on this lady. I never met her. And the strongest reaction in our matrix was some kind of brown spider from Cuba. I never even saw it in my equipment. It's the only time I've ever seen it. And I looked at her, and I'm like, I don't really know what this means, but your strongest reaction is this brown spider in Cuba. And her eyes got like saucers. And she was like, when I was a little girl, we lived in Cuba for a few years and I got bit by a spider and I almost died and it was very traumatic and I had to go to the hospital. And so, see, that was a stuck energy. And first of
Right.
all, I was like kissing my equipment. There's no way I could know this, you know? And
So wait, so I gotta stop you right here and back this up, because this is amazing. I must have missed the part where you translated what you were reading on your instruments into a brown spider. How did that translate?
well, because our equipment, they have $1 million piece of equipment, and they've pretty much measured everything on the planet that you can measure, and they've captured the frequency that it vibrates at, and they've put it into a mathematical algorithm equation and put it into our software. That's the easiest way I can explain it. And I'm going to give you a little test, Michael. Out of
Oh my
everything
God.
that they measured, this is a little trivia or fun little question back for you. Out of
Okay.
everything on the planet that they've measured, what do you think was the purest, highest vibration?
I don't think I even have to think about that. It was love.
Oh, that was such a good answer. Wrong. It's like,
Oh, what
do.
was it?
Love. No, that's a very great guess and a very great answer. And a lot of people say that,
Mhm.
but they actually captured the placenta of someone who had just given birth, and then they measured it within 24 hours. And so you have to think placenta is pure life,
Mm,
and that's how we got our stem cell frequencies in our
mhm,
equipment.
mhm.
And it is
Wow.
vibration is pure life.
Wow. I'm with you on that. Haphazard is saying, I need to see a video on that. It's super interesting. I am fascinated, beyond fascinated with what you're saying. So especially with AI, right? So now what I'm thinking is that, you've measured the frequency of all of these things to where they actually have a definition, right, in a dictionary almost, right? So this particular wave means brown spider from Cuba.
It's an energetic signature. And so
There's that
they
word.
they energetic signature,
Yeah,
that word.
there's that
So
word.
our essences, it's all for healing. So they're scientists. So I'm explaining it in the Ellen version, which is how
Right.
I can it. Um, think of like if we put 100 people in a room and we made everybody laugh, and so we captured laughter, and then
Mhm,
we scared everybody and we captured
mhm,
fear.
mhm,
You know,
mhm, mhm,
we
mhm.
did burn somebody. Not we're going to burn somebody, but
Right.
these are all emotions, and then they've measured a healthy body part, a healthy liver.
Mhm,
So they've what I like a lot in our equipment is they've captured the flower essences from all over the world, and so I use those a lot. It tells a lot about what's going on with people.
wow.
And
So
um
you can send a vibration into someone's brain and make them feel like they're experiencing smelling this flower.
well, not smelling it, say lavender. I'll just use
Mhm.
a really easy common one.
Okay.
The calming frequency. So say I'm working with someone who's really overwhelmed and they're very stressed out. They're going to pick flowers from, I'm going to see what they, in their initial test, I'm going to see what they ask for. So I'm working with them, their higher self, and their consciousness. And I'm like analyzing the data in split second and going with what's in my equipment and what their body's asking for.
Mhm.
So they'll pick flowers from Hawaii that, might be about um, calming. They might pick something about forgiveness, and it will be a specific flower that the healing properties are that. So all it's homeopathy.
Wow. Awapuhi. I remember that is a flower from Hawaii, the awapuhi.
Yeah.
That you could use that as shampoo, if I remember correctly.
Also, wherever you are in the world, there's going to be something that is healing for you in nature. So if
Mhm,
you're in the desert, it's going to be through some cactus flower.
mhm,
If you're up in Alaska, it might be in the fish oil or something from the ocean, a sea kelp. If you're in Australia, there's so many flowers there, the bush
mhm.
flowers. But
Wow.
that's just like 1/10 of our equipment. That's just what I like to work with.
Amazing. It's so amazing. And again, like, and forgive me if I'm not getting this right, but I feel like with the equipment and the technology that you're describing, and also I guess what's the word I'm looking for? The knowledge base, the database of what all of these vibrations are and what they represent.
Mhm.
I feel like you might be able to, we're not far away from hooking someone up to reading those vibrations, being able to visually see it on a monitor, right? Translate it to video with AI, right? Because AI now does text to video imaging. So, I mean, if the data, well, you're saying that the data isn't really text, right? You're saying that the data, I'm just so curious, Ellen, you don't even understand like what this data, how this data
I get
looks, what it says.
part two.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely have to have you back for this. It is Penny saying it is so interesting. Again, that you got into this, and this has been, they've been studying this, but now again with these additional technologies of AI and being able to now uh, read and visualize data in new ways, right? Because that's basically what it is. It's data that you're collecting on what's going on in the brain waves, in the energetic signature of a person's mind.
And
Man,
it's
I really.
also, Michael, it's also do no harm. So
Mhm,
it's for the highest good and the
mhm,
highest vibration of the soul.
mhm,
So
mhm.
it's, you can't use it for bad or for evil. It doesn't work like that. So I think that some things, always there's good things like, well, let's create this for something good, and then sometimes other people might take it over and try to make it more sinister, which seems like,
That I was actually going to ask you that. Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Like, in other words, so you said that it sends vibrations back, right? And we know the vibrate energetic signature of laughter or joy. So I was going to ask you, can you actually make someone feel like they're, in grief and in sorrow, and like, like by sending that vibration in there? I mean, not, again, you saying you can't do anything bad, but it seems like.
well, there's safety measures built into the equipment, and so the body would alarm out if you were going down the wrong road that the person didn't want, or like if you're a new practitioner and you're hitting detox, and you're not listening to the equipment, you could put
Mhm,
someone more in a, like a little healing, like they might just do too much detox. But
mhm,
I think like fear can be a good thing.
mhm.
Like say all of a sudden I'm outside and my spidey senses come up and there's a bus and I need to jump back, so
Right,
fear saved me in that matter,
right, right,
so
right, right.
not always a bad thing, so you don't want to take away
It's a good
our
point.
gifts. Or like I've worked on people that were more like schizophrenic, and
Right.
so there was a part of them that was just, I don't know if this is, it's kind of my understanding from my
Okay.
experience. Felt like there was a part of them that was just living in another dimension that was scattered, and they might have been getting an outside influence that might have not been for their highest good.
Right.
So in a situation like that, one, we always see where's any bugs, amoebas, things
Mm,
that are you know critters in our body, is one thing that could also be running the show. But sometimes it's like we need to bring them back into this reality, all of them into this dimension,
right.
because they could be hearing other influences. So I mean, there's so many roads that you can go down,
I
you
want to
know
just I want to welcome the people from the class who I think are in the audience right now. I see a couple of comments. Thank you guys for coming. I really appreciate it. Kinsey D. Uh,
Oh, I think that's one of your future guests. That looks like my husband,
oh,
Brian.
I was going to say, is that your husband? I see.
I
This
think
woman is amazing. Such a wealth of knowledge, both terrestrial and cosmic order. Absolutely. That's what I love about this show. It allows me to interview guests and have these amazing conversations. I love it. And I believe that's Lynn, Soma Life Sanctuary. It's crazy what the device picks up. Uh, she is pure magic. And then we've got the technology has the capability to allow the genius of the operator to engage what the person is willing to allow. The universe has it governing. And then we say holodynes. But I like what Kinsey D, your husband Brian.
Cleansed. That's cleansed. Like
Oh,
he has.
cleansed. Oh, it's not an I. I thought that was an I. Cleansed. Oh, beautiful. Very clever. I love it. Cleansed is out there. I just love this whole idea that even though it's medical equipment and it's a medical profession, that there's still this metaphysical spirituality that guides it. And I love, I'm more than certain that in your hands, that's the intention of it and that's the use of it. So I'm really excited to learn some more about it, what it all is and what it can do. And like you said, I might have to just have you back so we can talk some more about it, because I don't want to ignore some other things about you. You are also what? Go ahead.
Biofeedback. I am not a medical doctor. I am a certified biofeedback specialist. So terminology is really important. Saying the right thing gets in trouble. We are registered with our beautiful FDA watchdog, as a relaxation, brainwave retraining, and pain management. So you have to stay in the scope of your practice. That's what I'm certified.
I got you. So I for all the YouTube people out there, I take back the word medical. It's not a medical practice, but it is science, right?
It is science. It's of science and spirituality, and that's where we're at.
I love that. Isn't it so amazing? I'm so happy that we are there where science and spirituality can agree and exist together and have intelligent conversations about the future, right? Because that's what we need, for sure. I just want to pop up your website here just for a second, the Biofeedback website. In particular, for anybody who's interested in what we were talking about, it's scrolling at the bottom of the screen there, biofeedbackmatters.com. This is Ellen's website, and you can learn all about what she does with biofeedback there. And I'm definitely going to be talking to her more about this because I'm super, super intrigued by all of it. Go ahead.
I can work on anyone wherever they are in the world, but it's more quantum healing. It's biofeedback. You need to be with me in person and have the straps on for it to be traditional biofeedback, but we can work on someone. We use the word subspace and quantum healing. And because we are working with quantum physics and consciousness, I work on people all over. You don't need to be with me in person. It's always better to be with me in person, of course.
Of course. And I love that actually about the metaphysical fields. My girlfriend is a Reiki master, and she has done some remote sessions on people. And again, because everything is energy isn't bound to the physical. So I feel like, it's so cool to see people like you and my girlfriend like actually have experiences that are validated, like, well, you were here, I was here, but this did happen, we can verify it. It's very, very cool. So that's pretty awesome. We've got Joyce saying Ellen and biofeedback works with illness to increasing performance, and Ellen has helped support my well-being and my health for years. You've got an endorsement out there. Thank you, Joyce, for being here and endorsing and supporting Ellen in what she does. I'm super excited to have her here and that we've had this discussion. And again, I feel like I don't think we've even seen the whole tip of the iceberg. I think we've just kind of scratched it just a little bit. But it's getting late. I don't want to keep you too long. So before I wrap it up, I do want to talk about another facet to you. And you kind of mentioned you were a graphic designer beforehand, and then you decided to go into painting. I love some of this work. I saw it, and it was just like me and my girlfriend were looking at it, and we were just like, wow, look at that. This one in particular, I love these poems right here. But this is your website, ellensgallery.com. Tell us just a little bit about painting and what it means to you and how you got into it. And
I've been a painter my whole life. I started painting when I was a kid. My grandma was an artist, and I would just watch her paint for hours. And she's like, she was an oil painter, and I said, Grandma, can I watch you paint? And she's like, yeah, but you have to be real quiet. And we grew up. So I like trying to sit still, but I was so fascinated. And you can see I'm more like I was a landscape watercolor painter, and I've had the gift of studying with many of the plein air masters of California watercolor painters.
Oh, wow.
And then when I really started on my spiritual journey, I started painting my watercolors heavier and heavier.
Mm-hmm.
And I met this artist named Razuli, and he's an amazing artist. And he's like, you can't just copy nature. You have to paint from within. So then I started spirit paintings and abstract, and all these little beings just appear and show up. And it's channeling with paint, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And now, since I've learned to read the records, after I'm done in the records, we have a party and a celebration in the records, and we invite all your ancestors to come in. And then I started painting that, and none of that's on my website because it's all newer paintings. So I need to update that. Maybe I can find a good graphic designer like Michael who could update my website.
Oh, there you go. Ba-bing.
Yeah.
Grace is out there. Thank you, Grace, for being out there. I always love when I see your energy show up in the chat. She says, great show. And Janice says she loves that. I know that I thought I saw it on your website. I'm looking for it here. I don't see it. The painting that you've got behind you, I would love to bring that up on the screen. So is that on your website?
I don't know. Maybe. Look up for abstract.
I know, but that one is abstract, but you feel it. You can see,
abstract. What I really mean is that I don't know what I'm going to paint.
Mm-hmm.
I just start painting, and then these little beings start showing up,
mm-hmm.
and I can either paint over them, or I can let them come through. So since I've been doing Lynn's classes, they are coming. There it is, right there.
Yeah.
It's next to the other.
Yeah. Does it get bigger? Oh yeah, here we go.
I think you have to click on it.
Yeah, there we go. Nice.
So you can see like that's like two beings kind of talking to each other. So they're kind of like in the records. Like one being is getting guidance from that higher being with that light around them.
Yeah, I love it.
Dream state, sort of. And so I really like painting. I don't know, a lot of swirls started coming through. It's just like energy wormholes, and it's just beautiful. And if I don't like it, I just paint over it till something comes through that I do like, and then you start getting more and more textures. And sometimes I put it across the room, and I look at it the next day or in a couple of days, or I'll turn it the other direction. I'll be like, oh my God, there's that,
There it is. Oh, that's so cool. That's amazing. I love that.
The kitty cats have come in to say hello. They're chasing each other.
Oh, nice. What's up, kitty cats? Yeah. Well, Ellen, I can't tell you how much fun I have had speaking to you and how much I want to talk to you again. I really do. I felt like this before when we did our homework together. I felt like I had connected with a new friend. I feel like there's so much more that you and I are going to discuss outside of this, and I will definitely have you back.
Right back.
Thank you. And I do have also your husband coming up on the show. I forget what date he's scheduled for. I think the 26th. But we have Brian coming up on the show, who is a crystallogist, and will tell us some amazing things about crystals. We didn't even get to talk about Max tonight on the show. The crystal skull. I'll bring that up with Brian. And I think also we didn't talk about it, but you mentioned something about your daughter might be an interesting guest for the show. So maybe we'll have to talk about that. And you'll be the first complete family that I've had on my show. Although I will say I'm working on right now. There's a great family. Mark Wood is a amazing electric violinist who built his own electric violin. He teaches symphonies in schools all around the country, and his wife works with him, and their son who's transitioned, who plays drums for a great artist. I'm going to have each one of them on the show too. Anyway, I'm getting way off track. Ellen, you are amazing. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you. Thank you for being on my show. I will definitely have you back, and I
I
will
would,
talk to you.
if you see amazing in me, it's because amazing is in you. We're all mirrors and reflections of each other.
Oh, I love that. You
Thank
man,
you.
you are so freaking validating with all of your words and your knowledge. It's amazing. I love it. And I've got all of my regulars thanking you for being here. Pat Pauser is thanking you for being here. I am thanking you for being here. My higher spirits are thanking you for being here. We're all having a party. I'm going to put you backstage. I'm going to do my exhale, and I will see you again hopefully soon here on the live stream of consciousness. Thanks
Much
for being
love, everybody. Thank you for listening live or getting the rebroadcast. It's all still magic, and you are the magic. And just remember to shine your light and shine your star and live in your heart space.
here. Love it. Love it.
Global
We'll see you
space.
soon. Wow. I didn't even have to prompt, do you have any words of wisdom for my audience? She already knew to give words of wisdom to my audience. And Lynn is out there. Love you. And I feel good. I feel fulfilled. I feel like I achieved my mission with the live stream of consciousness tonight. And there's more to it for me again, because I'm going to talk to Ellen in just a minute. So everybody, let's decompress. Let's take a deep breath in and then release. One more time. Woof. So good. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you guys for being here. I did actually book up my schedule for October. Next week, I have another member of the Akashic Records class. Wendy Gale is going to be here, and she is just as amazing as Ellen is, and she is a channeler, and she'll talk to us all about channeling, and maybe even channel while she's here. Who knows what'll happen here on the live stream of consciousness, because it's live, it's a stream of consciousness, and stuff happens. I'll see you guys next week. Peace.